All right, y'all, what's going on? It's been a minute since I've posted. I apologize. I was out of the state. I was out in California for the last couple of weeks for work, and then I came home and I immediately got sick, and I'm still getting over that. But I didn't post anything about the presidential election because of those two things. And also, I just wanted a little bit of time to ruminate and sort of, think about all the ways in which I was completely wrong. So I'll go ahead and admit that up front. First off, what we have to say for sure is that the polling was completely off. Way, 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 way off. If you're in polling, you need to be rethinking your career or something, because I saw a bunch of stuff where Kamala was up. I saw a bunch of people saying it was dead tied. You've got the betting markets, which has nothing to do with real data, but just how people feel and how they're willing to bet their money, betting heavily on Donald Trump. And then come election day, literally it was supposed to be 50-50. Everybody's like, oh, it's going to be a super, super tight race. Trump won pretty easily with the Electoral College. So, just as far as the data points, and I can talk to you a little bit about my thinking through why I thought the way I thought. Not being a partisan, if you're just looking at data, one of the things I was seeing right before the election was you're seeing early voting and how many women were coming out to vote early. So with that said, it's women make up the majority of the electorate, and you had numbers in swing states of by percentage, women were coming out by double digits more than men were coming out to vote. And so you think about it and you go, okay, Roe v. Wade is overturned now. We've had elections since then where the Republicans, the pro-life candidate for the Republicans in special elections, have gotten wiped out. You've had abortion rights affirmed in, special elections and things like that since it was overturned. And so my reading of that data is all right, women are coming out in droves and they make up the majority of the electorate. And you know that abortion is a big issue during this election cycle. So you figure, knowing that, I think that would be a big deal. You also had a record number of young women and women of color, new registrations for young women and women of color, especially for the Democrats. So that did not turn out to be the case, even though it was affirmed in multiple states. So here's the confusion with this data, right? And my voice is shot, so I'm going to try and get through this. So it's in swing states like Nevada, like Arizona, you had direct ballot initiatives on abortion rights. And in the states where abortion was on the ballot, as far as I know, every state voted in favor of protecting women's reproductive rights. So, and not just in Arizona and Nevada, but I'm talking about it was on the ballot in Montana and it won. It was on the ballot in Missouri and abortion rights won. But Trump won the states that were swing states where it was. So my thing is make it make sense. How do you vote in a direct ballot initiative for abortion rights and then still give the presidency to the guy who is most directly responsible for ending women's reproductive rights? Trump brags about it to this day. He appointed the Supreme Court justices. He appointed 3 of them with the express purpose of getting rid of Roe v. Wade. That was what the Heritage Foundation wanted. They were all approved by the Heritage Foundation. That's who Trump picked. They all lied their asses off when they were, testifying in front of Congress to get, picked for the seat. And then the second it was presented to them, they overturned Roe v. Wade. The guy who's most directly responsible for that won, but the state still voted to protect abortion rights. Now, I know what Trumpers are going to say. Well, that's what the whole point is because it's supposed to go back to the states. Right. But if your state doesn't have it up for a direct ballot initiative, then you can't do shit about it. And you go, well, okay, so then you elect other representatives that are going to actually protect it. Also wrong. Because if your state is anything like mine here in North Carolina, the Republicans have complete and total control of this state. They've gerrymandered it so badly that it is nearly impossible for Democrats to win anywhere except for like 3 districts. And so it's completely controlled by the state. But, and this is the other weird one, this state, which is pretty much 50-50, even though it's controlled by Republicans, voted for Josh Stein for governor. Mark Robinson is a Trump-endorsed candidate. He was always a terrible candidate, but very Trumpy. And he was saying terrible things, like, before the whole I like trans porn and I'm a black Nazi story broke. Like, he was saying terrible things about gay people and trans people and how women should just keep their skirts down if they, so they don't have to have abortions, even though he and his wife famously did have one. But, like, again, North Carolina went to Trump, even though Josh Stein won handily in North Carolina. So what is the takeaway? And there are other examples too of, like, Democrats winning a Senate seat, like Ruben Gallego won, even though Arizona went to Trump. Like, just random stuff that just, it's very inconsistent. So what's my takeaway? Well, one, the American electorate is very, very fickle, I guess, is the word. I don't know. I'm trying to put it nicely. Confused. Fuck it. I don't care. I'm not going to put it nicely. If you voted for Trump and you're buying what he's selling, you are an idiot. You're a moron. But, and I don't have any qualms saying that at this point. Like, everybody knows exactly who Trump is and what he stands for. But what I do think is what this literally boils down to, it's like, some people have the luxury to really, really care about things like climate change and, like, democracy and, whatever, right? Other people cannot afford a $400 emergency, and it does not matter if you shout until you're blue in the face about how good the American economy is post-pandemic, which is true. Like, we're leading the world in post-pandemic recovery, but people aren't feeling it. So you can say inflation is down, which is true. It is down, but prices are still up 25% since 2020, okay? And people just like to remember things through rose-colored glasses, and I think that that's part of the Trump effect, is him going, gas prices were less. I'm like, yeah, they were. No, gas prices right now where I live aren't that bad. Like I said, I just got back from California. Even in California, it's only $5 a gallon. Here in North Carolina, I think I saw today, it's like right near my house, it's like $3.09. For most of the Trump presidency, if I remember right, it was somewhere between $2.50, $3 a gallon, maybe. But, like, people remember that one time when it was below $2 a gallon, and they go, oh my God, I remember how cheap gas was during Trump's presidency. They forget that, like, part of the reason why it was so cheap and it was under $2 a gallon is because there was a global fucking pandemic and nobody was driving and everybody was staying home. Now, I'm not blaming Trump for the pandemic. I absolutely blame him for the way he responded to the pandemic. But, I mean, like, those are the things that people remember. They go, oh, yeah, like, the stock market was doing really, really well. Okay. I mean, the stock market has been doing really, really well for the past couple of years, you know? But, like, that doesn't matter to everybody, you know? Like, hey, prices are still up, and my wage didn't go up by 25% in that time. And so you punish the party that's in power, and I think that that's part of what it comes down to, you know? And so, like, Americans, actually an alarming number of Americans, were willing to put aside the fact that Trump is a convicted felon. Whether you think that the charges are bullshit or not, he is. He is a convicted felon. He has 4 indictments. It was originally 91 criminal charges. I got news for you. When there's smoke, there's fire. Okay? He may not be guilty of everything. He's absolutely guilty of some of it. So they were fine to elect a convicted felon. He is a civilly liable rapist. It's been affirmed by dozens of women now that Trump is a sexual abuser. So that's not really in question either. A court found him sexually liable of rape. And Americans were fine with that. Trump was impeached twice. Americans were fine with that. Trump tried to overthrow the last election. Americans are fine with that. Trump has said that he wants to deport like 10 million illegal immigrants, which, by the way, if he actually does that, the American economy would fucking collapse. Like, I cannot tell you how many people work in this country illegally that the whole country would collapse if they were not here doing the jobs. And we still have millions of jobs that need to be filled that people just don't want to do because they're fucking hard. Yeah, like, people did not care about that. They didn't care that he was a vile racist and said that, like, legal Haitian immigrants, legal immigrants are eating your pets and eating dogs and geese and whatever else. That's a racist lie that was spread by a Nazi group. People were fine with that. And so, what should the takeaway be? I think that part of it is that, like, the Democrats just need to realize that, like, you can't just go off of, like, how well the macro things are going, right? Like, people are hurting, and you have to actually do something about it. The other thing that Trump did was, it was simple messaging. It's like, everything's in the toilet, and it's the fault of this person, this person, this person. It's because of the Democrats that everything's bad. It's because of the immigrants that everything's bad. It's because of, there was always a reason, and by the way, I'm going to fix it, right? The Democrats didn't have simple messaging, even though they were running on good things. Like I said, I think that Kamala Harris objectively ran a pretty good campaign for the amount of time that she had. I definitely think she ran a better campaign than Trump. She definitely ran a better campaign than Hillary Clinton did in 2016. She definitely ran a better campaign than Joe Biden did in 2020. But it wasn't enough. And I think her cardinal mistake was that people are hurting, and you've got incumbents all around the world getting rocked this election cycle. But so it's like an anti-incumbency kind of election cycle anyway. But she was asked directly, like, hey, what would you do differently than Joe Biden? And she was like, oh, nothing. It's like, Joe Biden's got an approval rating of like 30% or whatever it is. Like, they had a question that was like, how many people think that we're going in the right direction? And only like 25% or 28% or some like extraordinarily low percentage of Americans think that the country is going in the right direction. And you're asked, hey, what would you do differently? And you go, I wouldn't do anything differently. It's like, well, what? I mean, you kind of get what you deserve. Like, they don't hear what they want to hear, you know? And so Trump is different, even though, I mean, like, it's going to be a disaster. Like, people, they'll find out. They'll find out. And I'm scared, and, I'm not, like, I'm not a gay person or a trans person, or I'm not planning on having any more kids or anything like that. So most of this is not going to affect me, but, like, it'll affect, my kids. Sorry. It's not funny. But, yeah, I think that the Democrats need to realize that they need better messaging. They need to be more concise. And they need to really actually speak to the things that people want. Which, at the end of the day, is like, Kamala was talking about price gouging, so I think that was good. But it's like, you're not doing it right now. And she was not able to get people to realize that she's different from Joe Biden. And I think that that's a big problem on her part, because it's a tough tightrope to walk, being a part of the administration that everybody blames for all of their problems, and saying, you know what, I'm a part of the administration, I'm proud to have done the work in this administration, but also I would not do what we're doing in this administration. And I think that was part of it. So, like I said, I think it's insane that we elected Trump again, but we got to live with the consequences, and now it's the time to organize and do your best to mitigate the damage. Anyway, those are my thoughts with my very hoarse and sniffly voice. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.